Instant coffee is not coffee. Don't be deceived. It's not. There's no way you can process coffee and it will dissolve. It's like tea. When have you ever seen tea dissolve?
Never dissolves.
The worst thing you can ever do is just sit there and do nothing and wait for opportunities to come.
True.
Opportunities are never going to find you while you're sitting. It's not about how many times you fail. It's about how you get back up.
Good evening and welcome to the Late Night Business. My name is Ian Dennis, and tonight we're quite excited because we're going to be addressing an interesting conversation around the subject coffee. And I have with me an entrepreneur who's in this particular industry, and the family has been in this particular industry, and going to explore how the journey came to be. But before I get to introduce my guest, I'd like to let you know that we are right here at the Capital Club, the place you need to be as an entrepreneur. At the Capital Club, you get to have access to different particular facilities all around the world. So if you're ever traveling, if you're part of this particular Capital Club in East Africa, you can have access to Dubai, London, New York, Sydney, wherever it is, because at the Capital Club is the place whereby any particular entrepreneur needs to be. The guest that I have with me today is Kathy Wachira.
Yay!
I got it right. I was like, let me not make this particular mistake.
You got it. Congratulations.
I got it right because your name is quite unique. Wadai, I've never even heard about it.
Yes.
It's the first time I'm listening to it, so I always want to pronounce it right.
Thank you.
And looking quite beautiful and quite stunning.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming through. The first question I like starting with any particular guest that I have is, what exactly are you most grateful for today?
Being awake and alive. That's the one thing I'm most
Coffee
grateful
always
for.
keeps us awake and alive.
Yeah, but no, you don't thank coffee. You thank God for being awake and alive. Coffee don't do nothing.
Yeah.
It just keeps you alert. Actually, that's the word. Not awake, alert.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So I want to just take us through your journey, and so that you can just take me through before we get to where exactly you are right now, where exactly it all came from. So I'd like to know, where did Kathy grow up? How was the life of Kathy in the earlier years before the Kathy became right?
As a little thug baby.
You don't even look like.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, I was a tomboy. I was raised by two boys. I'm the only girl in my family. I have two brothers.
Last one?
I'm the last born.
No, I guessed it.
Yeah, and the age difference between me and my brothers is like a lot. So it's like I had three dads. So I grew up in Madore, which is in like a long, thick road in Thome. I grew up with a very strict dad and mom. They basically like, there, I'm an egg.
Yes.
You're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah,
you
the
know,
only girl, yes.
The only girl. So if she goes somewhere, tell me where she goes. So the only person I had to break me free from all those things was my brother. And he literally used to dress me.
Yeah.
And we used to go play basketball together. He used to take me where his boys go. So I ended up becoming a little tomboy.
Interesting.
But after I grew up, he moved out when I was 7, so I was like by myself, and I became this loner child. And I used to just love sitting outside, playing with the mud, stealing my mom's pots and pans, and she finds I've made her cake and everything.
So you had the real child-like life.
Oh yeah, 100%. I was in the shamba constantly. For some reason, I actually loved being in the shamba from when I was little. Like, absolutely loved it. My mom used to have a garden, and she used to grow everything. Like, she had ndomas and kwashes, you name it. So we used to eat fresh produce constantly. I guess that's why I got
So
my
they used to
love.
do it just for subsistence,
Just
or it
for
was just
us.
commercial?
No, for us, for the house. Yeah.
And
she sustained the whole entire family with her garden and her backyard of cuckoos and, you know.
So your mother had it figured out before all this COVID and all these particular survival things in Nairobi?
No, Hash had it figured out a long time ago. Yeah, so my mom also reared chicken. She was one of the first chicken suppliers a long time ago. No, when broilers had just become a foreign concept in. Yeah, she was one of the people to do the foreign concept.
So she was one of the first people to transition
She
from
was,
kienyeji to broilers. Yes.
Yeah, and she used to supply to one of those fast food restaurants in town at Gill House. I can't remember what it was called, but it was like a kenchi kind of thing. Yeah, so she used to supply her cuckoos there and everything, and she sustained us and everything. My dad was a businessman, so when he used to go to town to the office, he used to be like, yeah, see you while you're dropping, because his office was at Gill House. While you go to the office, so just go with this consignment and drop it right there.
So some chicken behind you.
Yeah, just have some chicken right there. Yeah, so I guess my entrepreneurial self has been in me from both my parents from when I was a little girl.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And maybe you can just, so you've mentioned that your mother used to, what's it called, hustle with the chickens and the garden and all that stuff, and your dad also used to do business. What are some of these particular influences that you had from your parents growing up, and how pivotal were they to, what's it called, to having you become who you are? What are some of the lessons that you derived from this early experiences in entrepreneurship from your parents?
I'll tell you something very interesting about me. At the age of 10, I used to make bracelets and out of beads and stuff, and I used to sell them to like my family and school and everything. So the one thing I learned from both of them is you are the control of your destiny. My mom has this thing where she tells me when I do something, she's like, hey, you can never go hungry, because you always find something to do. You'll always find something to get yourself out of it. And the one thing they taught me that I actually picked from them, because of how much they have done so many things in their lives, is it's not about how many times you fail. It's about how you get back up. So I learned how to get back up. So I tried so many things. Oh gosh, let's not talk about the amount of things I've tried.
But it's quite interesting. So at 10, you'd already tried to experiment with business quite early. How exactly was it? What kind of businesses did you get yourself into, and what are some of the lessons you learned quite early on that you're able now to maybe transition it? Because I know as a 10-year-old, your brain gets to learn so much, and there's so many different lessons. So besides trying off with the bracelets, what other kind of businesses you tried on in your early childhood years?
Oh my God, okay. I did bracelets, and I used to actually find like schools to go sell them like during sports days and everything, and I'd go and set up a little table, and I'm this little girl like, hi. How are you? Yeah, and sell the bracelets and necklaces.
And cute kids always sell.
They always sell. So it was like the craziest thing. After the bracelets, I learned how to bake. And in primary school, so primary I sold the bracelets and everything. When I got into high school, I used to sell cupcakes.
Cupcakes? So you used to bake cupcakes by yourself?
Yeah, for break time. So during break, like when guys are buying their chapo samos and everything, on the side I was there with my cupcakes. And you know, like everyone's like, oh my God, a cupcake for break. So I made cupcakes and everything. And after that, when I got into college, I also did cupcakes. Like now I got at least a bit more professional.
Yeah, so it's some interest in baking.
Yeah, and when I was in college, I remember this, we were having Mr. and Miss USIU. And that night, everyone was like, oh, yeah, we're going. And I'm like, yes, we are. I'll see you in the evening. And the whole entire day, because it was, I think it was happening on a Friday. So the whole entire day, you would not believe what I was doing.
Baking?
I baked 200 cupcakes.
200, all right.
And I sold them throughout the whole night because I knew guys, when they get, you know, rowdy and everything, and they'll come. They'll eat cupcakes. They'll eat whatever you sell them when they're hungry. And I sold all the cupcakes, and it just so happened to be my mom's birthday. So I bought her a blender, and she still has a blender till today, by the way. But it was such I never used to really ask for money to
sustain.
Like if I need to give my mom a birthday gift, I'd be like, okay, Kathy, what can you do? You can do this? Yeah, okay, let's do it, boom. I get the money, I go buy her the gift and be like, yeah, happy birthday, you know, for both my parents. Then after we're in college, then I went to the States. Like,
so before we get to the States, let me just take you back. So you, because I know you've done so many different things in nutrition. I know nothing. I'm in the same shoe like you. Sometimes you do so many things you can't remember. At what point did I do this?
Yeah.
But every particular journey had something interesting. Yeah. But something that I got to learn from you is that also at the point you were meant to be where I am, literally permanently. You studied journalism for a while.
Yes,
how did that interest come about? Because from just listening to you, like your interest morphed over a period of time. You got into baking. You had this interest about making bracelets and things artisan. Why did you decide to do journalism, and what exactly got you into that particular path? And how was the experience after?
So, when I finished high school, my dad wanted me to get out of the country and he wanted me to study abroad. And I got ready. I did my my tests and everything that I needed to get into school. I passed them and whatnot. And then at the end of it all, I was like, I don't want to go. I'm scared. I don't want to go to.
Why don't you? Like it's something like every Kenyan wants. You want to get out of this country.
No, not me.
Most Kenyans rather.
Not me. So I panicked and I was like, I don't know, I don't want to go. And everyone was on board. It's like, yeah, Kathy's starting school in September. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I'm starting school in September, just not in America. You guys just don't know yet, but not in America. So then...
What caused the hesitance?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't know. My brother was there, so it's not that it was going to be such a scary experience and I'm going to be all on my own. And I had been to the States quite a couple of times before that, like plenty of times. Yeah. But it was so, I don't know, it was scary. And I was like, if this thing is scaring me so much, why am I forcing myself to do it? So one day I just opened up to my mom and I was like, Mom, you know, I actually don't want to go. Like, I'm terrified. Like, I don't want to go and start my life there. Because I know once I get there, I'm going to have to, you know, I'm going to be sucked into the American system. And I was like, no. And I remember my brother, like, it took him such a long time to stabilize after school. And I was like, I don't want to have to do that, you know? And there's a lot more opportunity in this country than most people think. It's not always about employment, no offense, but it could be, there could be something in you that could make you could be a great opportunity for you, as opposed to just flying off and going to...
I agree, Interesting. So you decided now to remain back in the country.
So I stayed in the country.
Why journalism?
Now that's where it gets funny. So I've stayed in the country. I was not going to do journalism. When I was going to the States, I was going to be a designer, a fashion designer. We had found the school and everything. And I was like, that's the only thing that was taking me there. So my mom is like, okay, you're going to have to find a school that does fashion in this country. And I had done IGCSE, so I needed to do A-levels in order to get into
university.
Into a university, into a public school. So I tell my mom, she's like, okay, you know what, USIU is right here. So we go to USIU and we see what they have and everything, and they look at my grades, they're like, yeah, you can get in, you're fine and everything. And then I meet with one of the heads of journalism at USIU. And she's like, oh, you're coming in. You are actually so perfect for journalism. And she said something like, oh, you know, you can come and you can do fashion journalism. So I was like, I never heard that, but sounds good. It has fashion in it, so I guess I can do it.
So it was fashionable.
So it was fashion.
Anyway.
Oh, God. Yes. Anyway, yeah. So I was like, okay, sawa, I'll do journalism. And then I did journalism. And later through journalism, I ended up getting I landed an interview with Maisha Magic for a TV show and everything. And something just happened with the producers and went the way it went. So I was like, okay, sawa, no problem. I have no problem with that. And then I continued with school, and then in 2016, I got a job at Ebru as a TV host. And I did it for 4 months until I was like, wow, there's no contract yet, guys. I'm not seeing much happening. This is actually not for me as much as I thought it was. And everyone used to hear I'm doing journalism and they're like, oh my God, yeah, you're perfect for TV or you're perfect for radio, you know, you should be on those. And I'm like, yeah, thanks, okay, that's motivation to keep going. No. No.
So it is like a path that you thought you'll pursue and it will have some fruits at the end of it, but it wasn't for you.
It wasn't for me.
So how was that particular feeling in terms of like, I pursued this, I wanted this, but it never really worked out, and I need to start again to pursue that which is my path? How exactly was that particular feeling, and how exactly did you manage now to switch the path back to business?
I felt so lost. Let's start there. I felt so lost because I was like, okay, I've put in all these years into school and I've put in all my parents' money into this and I'm doing nothing about it, and it's like, it's not even for me. Like I could care less for it. So I was like, okay. So my dad and my mom decided, they were like, okay, so she's not going to do journalism. Go to America.
So the America that you dreaded.
The America that I dreaded,
Yes.
I went.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I was like, okay, let's go. Okay. I was so scared. I get there, first of all, and it was in January of 2018, and it was freezing cold. Yes. And I was like, why am I here? I've left the sun and happiness. I've come to struggle here. So I then thought, okay, let's see what you'll enjoy doing. I love doing events, by the way. I absolutely love hosting people, large scale, small scale. I love doing events with all my heart. So I was like, okay, you know what? I can get into events. I can do a small course on events here, and then I can implement it when I get back home. Yeah. Then I find the school, and the fees was like...
No, of course.
I was like, School of YouTube. Yeah. How do you do it? So now I'm in the States. I have absolutely barely anything to do. And then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to ask for money from anyone. I'm going to figure out how to make this money. And I'm going to just make the money. So I had carried some fabrics.
Oh, from Kenya?
From Kenya. Yes. Like my whole suitcase was filled with fabrics. So I went and my brother had bought his wife a sewing machine. And they have never used it. It was in the box. It was brand new. I was like, oh my God, this thing is so beautiful. I'm so happy right now. So I started sewing. I didn't even know how to.
So you started making fabrics and selling them?
I started making clothes. Yeah. I started making home decor stuff. Yeah. Cushions, table runners, rugs, name it. Even bags.
So you became the tailor in America?
I became the tailor in America.
So just tailor suits. Anyway.
Oh God.
My dad jokes will always come.
But anyway. So yeah, I made the clothes and I sold them. And when I realized that I could actually do it...
So how much are you selling your pieces and what kind of pieces are you selling?
So I made this table runner that was like out of dashiki. And you know, dashiki at that time was like, oh my God, African heritage and everything. So I made the table runner and I sold it for $50. And I was like, wait a minute. I can do this. Okay, let's go. Let's go. I made cushions, cushions and everything.
Wow. So in America, because of course the market is very different.
Oh yeah.
And there it's all about the dollar bills.
It's the dollar bills, y'all.
So you started selling your pieces and
I started selling my pieces. So I started selling my pieces and then, okay, that was getting slow. So everyone who had bought.
Bought, yes.
I was like, okay, what next? And I thought, okay, you like cooking. What can you sell these people that they don't get to have every now and then?
So primarily you had to resort to business because you couldn't afford school and you needed to upkeep money. I forgot
about school entirely. I was like, hey, that one's gone. So this is upkeep money. This is like I need to buy clothes. I need to buy everything. You know, I need to do this and this. I need to not look like a bum living in my brother's house. So I was like, okay, people like mandazis. When do they have mandazis? When they go back home, right? Ask my brother, is there a Kenyan restaurant in this country, in this town? And he's like, yeah, they do Wachira and all those things. Sometimes they do mandazis. And I'm like,
which town is that?
That's Houston.
Houston, all right.
Yeah. So and then it's like, do they do samosas as well? It's like, yeah, he does samosas, but he usually sells like 3 samosas for like $15. I'm like, say what?
Samosa $15. That's
1,000. Yeah, 1,005. That's what I did in my head. I was like,
right now it's like 1,700.
Yeah.
Samosa, tattoo.
I was like, say less. I'll figure this out. I went, I made samosas, and I made them for the house first. So I didn't even know the ratios or anything. So I was like, okay, let me just go buy nyama, let me go buy the ingredients, let me go buy this. It's like, see, I've seen my mom make samosas at home. So I go get everything, and I bring it, and I make the samosas, and I tell my brother, okay, taste it, is it nice? He's like, oh, these are really good. And I was like, oh, okay. And then one of my brother's friends had their auntie over. So she was like, you know, there's a way I can show you how to make these things even like better and it will be so cheap and easy for you. So I go and she teaches me how to make them. I used to call her auntie because she's basically all our auntie. So I used to so auntie taught me how to make them. And I was like, whoop, there it is. I made them, they taste good. I started telling people, so I'm making samosas. Buy the samosas.
So how much are you selling them for you?
$2 a samosa.
One samosa is like 300 bob. And how big was the business? How did the business become?
It did. It was good because it sustained most of what I needed to do. And I was not being a bum. You know, the worst thing you can ever do is just sit there and do nothing and wait for opportunities to come.
True.
Opportunities are never going to find you while you're sitting. You have to go and get them. And you can never be afraid to try. You have to, it doesn't matter if you're making mutura.
So long as you're doing something.
You're doing something. And to somebody else, it might look like a dirty job or it might look like it's useless. But hey, my brother went there. Now my brother who's here, he'd make mutura for guys and they'd be like, oh my God.
So it's a big market. So you can live in Kenya as a mutura.
I'm telling he
mutura
would
maker can go there and become a millionaire.
imagine. Do you know he would sell mutura at like $20 for like one this big. I'm looking at this guy, I'm like, by the way, I think we need to do more than just do
But
this
one
thing.
of the interesting thing about your American journey is that you didn't last for long. Why exactly is that? And how long did you last in America before coming back home?
6 months.
6 months?
Yeah.
So you got an opportunity to go to school there, you didn't go, studied here.
I didn't get an opportunity, it was too expensive.
But I'm just looking at it, like you had the opportunity to stay in this niche.
Yeah.
Why decide to come back home?
Again, most people do not realize what they have here. Just because I was doing that, you don't understand. I wasn't paying rent. I wasn't paying utility bills. I was not paying for a lot. Like I'd buy a crate of water, eggs here and there, milk here and there, you know, groceries and stuff. And, you know, if they needed anything, I'd make them, like I'd make, you want a shirt, I'll make your shirt. But it was easier then. So I imagined, okay, I can't live with this guy forever and his family. I'm going to have to get out on my own. Am I really going to sustain this making samosas?
No.
Am I going to make fab dresses and whatnot? I mean, I could have grown, but
it takes time.
It takes time. And it's not as easy there as it is here. You know, here, if you are down to your last penny, you can figure something out and you can, because we're a community.
True.
You have your friends here, you have your family here.
True.
You know, stuff hits the fan, you can
go back.
Exactly, you can go to somebody. So I was like, I'm not gonna do this. I know there's something for me back home. I know there's gonna be a purpose for me. I just need to be patient enough to find it.
Interesting.
That's all it was.
And the interesting thing is that even before we come to the story, because I know you've covered America, you've covered your particular early life, and I know there's so much to this, but you're going to take a short commercial break, and then after the break, you're going to find out what exactly transpired to inspire. Hey, what transpired? I can be a rapper right now.
No.
Tire to inspire. Anyway, I'll see you after the break. So welcome back to the show. So before we went on a break, Kathy was just taking us through her journey in America, back, in America, back. So you came back home after 6 months and you got into the family business.
Yeah.
How exactly was the experience in the family business and what exactly some of the nitty-gritties you got to learn? Just take me through.
You know how working with family can be a challenge, yeah?
It's ever a challenge.
Yeah. So I was working with my dad. And
what convinced you, first of all, to get into the family business?
He convinced me. He convinced me. Yeah. And he was like, you know, you can come and figure out, like, learn the ropes of the family business.
Which industry is that?
That's the hospitality industry.
So it's hospitable enough to make you come back home.
Imagine, how loving. Your dad jokes, my God.
But it's your dad. Anyway,
yeah, but it's my dad. So he called me back. No, he called me into the family business and everything. That was in 2018. And I was like, okay, this is going to be hard. But I had all these dreams and things I wanted to do. Where? Life don't work like that.
Yes.
So working with my dad was not easy. It was very, very challenging. It was challenging mentally and it was challenging emotionally. But the one thing I'm very grateful for is the fact that he treated me like an employee. He did. He did not care about nothing. I used to take my salary with everybody.
Oh, so he paid you a salary?
Yes, he paid me a salary. I mean, hey, I'm working for you. He paid me a salary. I used to take my salary with everyone. I used to get somewhere with everyone. If I've messed up, I've messed up. I needed to follow the same systems that everybody followed, which was good. It was very, very good. So, but it was challenging.
Interesting. And through the experience, I think you'd mentioned to me that also you learned so much that you eventually ended up becoming a consultant in the hospitality.
Yes. So, one thing with my father is he's not going to teach you directly. Like, he's not going to tell you now you see, you need to learn this thing. No. He's going to be like, watch and learn. So that's exactly what I did. And he was like, I want you to work in every single department. I want you to be in the kitchen. I want you to be in the rooms. I want you to be at the bar. And I want you to be in the office. So in case you are ever left on your own and you need to deal with this, you know how to deal with it. And I can't tell you how much that helped. Because one time when we, the hotel industry and everything, we used to host functions a lot, like GMs and everything. So we had an AGM and these guys were about 400 people. And so we're ready and everything, and we're getting ready, and we're preparing food. So I even used to go to the market to buy things, by the way. Like I used to...
Also used to like know the nitty-gritties of the business.
Everything. I used to go to the market, and he wanted me to learn everything from the ground up. He didn't want me to sit in the office and be, hey, you do this. No. Learn the nitty-gritties. So that's what I did. So one time when we're having this AGM, 400 people, my waiters quit on me.
Why?
The day before.
They couldn't wait for another day. The waiters there.
Yeah, they couldn't wait for another day. So they quit on me the day before, and I lost my mind because this is 7 a.m. They have left a note, slid it under the office door. So when I'm opening the office, I'm stepping on a piece of paper and I'm like, what's this? I pick it up and I'm looking, I'm like, oh, hell no.
Why did they quit?
I don't even know. They just said, actually, I'll never forget. They said, we cannot be able to work with the food we're being given for lunch. I was like, you guys eat every week. You have nyama. You have whatever you choose. So if it's what, you
it
have...
It was a food for thought.
Yeah, it was a food for thought. But I was like, okay, now I'm stuck. So I told myself, you know what? Figure it out. So we have a new chef now. I have to go and supervise in the kitchen and figure this guy's out. My samosa knowledge, thank God. I went and made the samosas quickly. I go back now, I'm setting up. I only have one waitress and she has to man the bar as well. So she's crossing over. So it was me and my colleague Elizabeth. We worked the office, so manager and me. So we figured this thing out, and we go and serve the food ourselves, and we go and deal with these people ourselves. By the time the day ended, we were so tired, so exhausted. Nobody wanted to talk to the other. Nobody wanted to talk to the other. Imagine, but if he had not taught me to start from the beginning, I would never have been able to handle that day.
I can try.
I'd have quit.
So the lessons that Dad had actually imparted in you, and the discipline that she'd actually had given to you actually came to fruition.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you've been part of this particular family business. Where you've been to the States. You've had some interest in terms of making clothes and fashion. You've run a TV job. Where did the interest in coffee come about? And how did it come about?
Now, we've stopped working at the hotel. Not out of choice. The pandemic hit. I've just started consultancy for other hotels. A big job is about to come. Boom, the pandemic hits. Now you're stuck. So when time went by through the pandemic and everything, now you remember when we could now travel to other counties. So one time I go to the farm with my mom, and she's been doing coffee for years, you know. So I go to the farm, and we drive past the farm because our farms are separate. So we have one where we actually live, and then we have now one that's just all coffee. So we drive past the farm, and I'm like, Mom, what happened to the coffee? She's like, oh, I cut it all down. I was like, what? Why? She's like, I made more from charcoal than I did from the coffee.
Oh.
I was like, what?
How come? Coffee doesn't have that much money. Why will they cut coffee down to bring
Believe
in,
it or not, it doesn't. The farmer makes zero.
Why is that? And historically, even in by the time coffee makes it to geography, the one we've been taught all those years.
Imagine. The
Arabica coffee. It doesn't make that money.
No. So this is a heartbreaking story about coffee. And the reason, I'll tell you why this company started. Thaya Artisanal Coffee. Thaya was birthed by the thought of the fact that my mother is not the only one going through that. And the fact that generations of women have grown this coffee only for it to be cut down and burned down for charcoal. Yet their blood, their sweat, their tears went into this coffee during colonial times. And then now it's being cut down? No way.
It's been years and years and generations and centuries.
So many generations. You know, one thing most people don't know, by the way, coffee was not brought by the white man.
Coffee was here.
It was here. We're right next to Ethiopia.
It's like the white man discovered Lake Victoria and Mount Kenya. We never
Thank
saw
you.
it.
We never saw it. Apparently, there were no human beings who had eyes to see it. So
we were all blind.
We were blind, you know, or we didn't know that was a mountain. Yet we used to pray to the highest point of the mountain.
True.
Gosh. So let's not get into colonial
times. It's just crazy.
I'll start crying and get passionate about it.
Let's get back to
Let's get back to the coffee. So then now I started getting more interest after that time. I was like, okay, Mom, tell me more about this coffee. Tell me more about what you're going through as a farmer. And she was like, yeah, even with my 10 acres, it's nothing. I was like, what do you mean? So I was like, okay, Mom, I need you to tell me the numbers now. How much coffee can you produce a year? How much coffee can one tree give you? Okay, you have this amount of trees, like that. And she was like, okay, sawa. Then she's like, then one day I wake up and I tell her, Mom, you know, I'm actually thinking we should now start doing our coffee ourselves. It's time for us to change the game. And she was like, sweetheart, you think it's that easy? And I was like, Mom, see, somebody else has done it. Why can't we be the ones to do it? Why are foreigners the ones who are coming to do it?
So the previous model has been they produce coffee for the foreign market, or how does coffee work? I have no idea. So
I'm the farmer. I have been the farmer for a very long time. I take my coffee, I pick all my coffee and I take it to the factory. I take it to the factory. So
coffee is just the berries?
It's just the berries. That's all we knew. We just know the berries. We know what it looks like on the inside when we remove the berry, but that's about it. We don't know what it smells like roasted. We don't even know what it tastes like. Factory, we wait for a year and a half for our money to come. And the price
you're not paid immediately?
No.
How many times is coffee processed in a year?
There is coffee that is processed, that is picked in the middle of the year. I don't know what it's called in English, but I'm going to tell you what it's called in Kikuyu. It's called daramwaka. So that's what's picked between July and August. It's not such a big harvest. It's more of the berries that ripened early, and you can't leave them on the tree because they'll go bad. So that's picked and it's taken to the factory. But the biggest harvest is at the end of the year, which is in December. So it all goes to the factory.
Which kind of coffee is that?
This is Arabica coffee.
Arabica coffee.
Yeah. That's what majority of us grow, actually. We grow a lot of Arabica. There's close to 0 people who actually grow Robusta coffee in...
Oh, yeah, that was Robusta. That's... When you're mentioning them, I remember, I studied geography. But so Arabica is the main...
Yes, Arabica is the main. And Arabica has more people like the flavors of Arabica because it has very chocolatey, caramelly flavors. So now we're back to the factory. So one time my mom takes her coffee to the factory and have very, very big berries. She has like the berries are massive. Now those are the ones that produce the AA coffee. She told, hey, you put your coffee on the side. Like, why? So out of curiosity, she just sits there to watch what happens. Do you know somebody came and collected the white person came and collected the berries? Berries, not processed or anything, just collected the berries and went with them, the big berries. Those are the ones that are thrown like there. Now, I started to do my research and everything. I started going to local, small-scale factories, farmers and everything, these ones that are not owned by the SACCOs and everything. And I started going to them and I was like, okay, so how do you, what happens? What's the process? What's this? And they were happy to help this. And by the way, 95% of them are women. The big guy, the one in the office who's taking the money, that's the guy.
So
that's
primarily coffee in Kenya is farmed by women?
Yes, women.
I didn't know that.
Women nurture it to a different level that one can't even understand. It's like they take care of it like it's their child. You should see my mom with her coffee. It's like, this is my baby. You guys grew up, go away. This is my baby now. Yeah, so what's it called? Your mom has had this big farm that she was literally cutting off slow by slow. You see this opportunity that is actually presented to it. So how did you decide now to build it as a business? How did that come about, and what is exactly the opportunity that you saw in terms of tapping into an industry that has been there for generations but apparently hasn't been making money? So I saw that the only way we're going to benefit from this coffee, because as much as you think that she would make from it, it's zero. You get, it's 75 shillings per kilo. And if that was her daily bread and butter, she would not be able to sustain
75 shillings per kilo?
Yes.
Of all these berries?
Yes.
My goodness.
And when you buy
I'm just
a kilo...
tempted to say Halle Berry. That's such an act.
Yeah.
A wrong act.
I know, don't do it. So when you, that's 75 shillings a kilo. And then when you buy the coffee when it's roasted, is about 3,200 a kilo. Now look at this.
So it's 75 shillings a kilo
from the
just
farm.
off the farm, but it's 3,000, over 3,000 off the shelf when it's just roasted. Wow. Per kilo.
Per kilo.
That's like times what? Like almost times 40.
You're talking about serious markups.
Yeah.
Now, okay, given 7 kilos of berry will give you 1 kilo of green bean, which is what you roast. That's fine. But even if the 7 kilos, how much is the farmer making from it? You're talking about 280 shillings, no? Almost. Why? You know, 280 to 3,000 bob. You can't give the farmer just a little bit more for them to nurture their coffee. And then the worst part is they'll come and complain and they'll be like, oh, your berries are too small. Oh, you know, you're giving us small things. Those are waste. Take them back into the coffee as waste. I'm like, you give me bare minimum. How do you expect me to give you premium?
Yes, true.
You know? So that's where the business aspect came.
So primarily it was pressed by the need of taking care of the farmer and also taking care of a particular market.
Yes.
And so you've set up Thaya, you're literally taking, what's it called, the opportunity that the market has actually presented, or rather you also have access to the farm. How exactly is it getting into a market that's literally predominated by multinationals? Because coffee as we know it, I think we all know the international brands.
Yes.
Yes.
You know the international brands and the brands that will give you the bare minimum of coffee. The reason why I call myself artisanal coffee is my coffee is from farm to table. I don't lie to you. I'm giving you double A coffee. Now let me tell you a fun fact. You've had we pick in December. So December we're done picking, yeah?
Yes.
January, if you go to any factory, by like mid-January, you will not find any AA coffee in the whole entire country.
Why is that?
It's exported.
Also the market for coffee, it's all exported out?
It's all exported.
All right.
That's why Kenyans, when they say, oh, I love coffee, I'm like, do you really? Do you know what you're drinking? Coffee in this country, you have not even begun to taste coffee, what coffee really is. If you go to a farm to table kind of experience, you're going to experience coffee on a different level. The first time I roasted our coffee, from my mom's farm, I was like, what have we been drinking all these years? It was so good. The aroma was incredible, even just roasted.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone to a supermarket aisle? Do you ever smell coffee on the aisle?
No, I think coffee smells me. But it's true. But it's fine. But it's true, yeah.
Oh my God. You don't smell it?
Yeah.
How can you not smell coffee when there is over 100 packets of coffee on the shelves? 5 packets in my office, my whole entire office smells like coffee.
And how do you differentiate good coffee from bad coffee? Because I think we've been preconditioned by the coffee that you take, that literally all international brands. How do you manage to differentiate Kenyan coffee and coffee from, what's it called, good coffee
and bad coffee?
Yes.
One, aroma. By the way, coffee is all about the aroma. If there's no aroma in coffee, that means that coffee is not going to taste very good. It means it's stayed for too long. The beans have been bleached out, so the flavors are really just are not there. Yeah. So you have to taste it. You have to taste it, but it's what are you looking for in the taste? I mean, for Thai coffee, we have artisanal coffee. We do naturally processed coffee. Naturally processed coffee has zero, like the acidity levels in it are non-existent. You know how somebody takes coffee and it gives them so much heartburn?
Yeah.
No, that's fully washed coffee will give you heartburn. But naturally...
Also, good coffee has less acidity.
No.
Yeah.
Even fully washed coffee is good. Yeah. But for the people who like... It's all to the wine you like.
Yeah.
Do you like dry wine? Do you like sweet wine?
I think I just like whining, but I don't take wine anyway. It's fine. I'm the wrong person to use examples with the wine.
I know! Oh my God, you're horrible.
Sorry, I'm such a bad example.
You are really a bad example.
I know, sorry.
So, our coffee has red wine notes, dry wine. It has the berry flavor. It has the caramel aroma. It has chocolatey notes to it. That's what makes a good cup of coffee. The fact that when you sip it, you can identify every single note from the other.
Interesting.
Without being a coffee expert. But you can be like, you can smell it and be like, oh my God, this smells so good. You know?
Yeah.
There's coffee you can open, do this 5,000 times.
I know.
That smells not coming
Especially,
out.
the ones especially doing the wraps. I know, it's just such a struggle.
First of all, instant coffee is not coffee. Don't be deceived. It's not. There's no way you can process coffee and it will dissolve.
Oh, coffee is not supposed to dissolve?
No. It's like tea. When have you ever seen tea dissolve?
It never dissolves. All right, now I get. So if it dissolves, means it's not good coffee.
It's not coffee. Instant coffee is not coffee. It's 5% coffee and it's emulsifiers and things, you know, like granules of stuff that make it dissolve. But it's not coffee.
Interesting. At least today I've had a lesson on coffee.
Yeah, so don't drink instant coffee and say, oh, I love coffee. Come on, no.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so something, because time literally flies, my goodness.
I know.
But out of this particular experience, before you get into a quick fire, maybe just out of your journey, because your journey is very interesting. Like, you're young, you've defied odds in terms of trying to get into a business that's literally predominated by the multinational, and you're courageous enough to actually do it. And you've had so many different experiences in terms of entrepreneurship. From your journey, what are some of maybe the final lessons you can actually just share in brief out of your experience and just being broad enough to literally dare and believe to set up a business in?
Okay, I'll tell you one thing for a fact. Once you have a dream and you have a vision, you can achieve anything. The dream for Thaya is to change the game of coffee. I want to empower the farmer. For once in history, empower the farmer, not empower the end product. Empower the farmer. That means we're going to get good quality. Another thing is, if you have a craft, master it to your fullest. If you know you're passionate in growing something, grow it to the max. If all these women who pick this coffee, they have their own farms, but they don't make enough money from selling their own coffee. They have to go to another person's farm and pick the coffee.
Interesting.
So why not empower those women for once? If you buy from all these big guys, if they tell you the truth about it, the farmer is not empowered.
I agree.
Whatsoever.
I agree.
So here, We're doing it for the women, and we're
you're
doing it
for the farmer.
And for the heritage.
Fantastic. My goodness. So define, in the next 90 seconds, I have a quick fire. That is a couple of questions that I'd like to take you through. So whatever comes to your mind, just shoot it.
Okay.
So the first question, how long does it take you to get ready?
15 minutes.
That's short. Anyway,
Yeah.
at what age
Without makeup.
That's not made up.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's fine. At what age do you want to retire?
45.
Do you ever post inspirational quotes on social media?
Sometimes.
What does a person need to be happy?
Yourself.
How many pull-ups can you do in a row?
0.
How many hours of sleep do you need?
7.
Climb a mountain or jump from a plane?
Jump from a plane.
How long can you hold your breath for?
I think 30 seconds. Yeah, last time I did it, 30 seconds.
And the final question, who inspires you?
My mother.
That's very interesting. Thanks so much, Kathy, for having come to the show. Such an interesting journey. And for me, I always encourage buy Kenya, promote Kenya, because you exist for the Kenyan farmer. So where can everybody watching this get Thaya coffee? Artisanal coffee.
Artisanal coffee, please be specific.
Uh-huh.
Farm to table. You can get our coffee. You can either visit us on thaya.com or you can visit us on Instagram, Twitter, Thaya Artisanal Coffee. Call us, we deliver at your doorstep.
Interesting. I always believe buy Kenya, promote Kenya. So thanks so much for having watched this particular show. Hope you've learned a thing or two from a dreamer and someone who believes in terms of just getting an industry that has literally been held by the different particular multinationals. As always, you're here at the Capital Club, the place you need to be as an entrepreneur. So it's very easy to be a part of the Capital Club. You just need to have a recommendation for one of your peers, and it's easy for you to have access. And the interesting thing about being a member of the Capital Club, you get to have access to very interesting and awesome human beings and being part of very interesting conversations. My name is Ian Dennis, and this has been the Late Night Business. Until next time, I'll see you right here on KTN Home.